Hey guys, so I have not updated my article for a while. So for those of you that haven't followed me as Courtney Signer, because you know me as Courtney Veillet, I was Courtney Kiffmiller was my maiden name. That's what I grew up, born, was raised on. I married into the Signer family. I married John Signer. We were married together for 8 years, and married for a few of the 8 years. Anyway, I lost everything, and I started writing a blog through Street Sense Media when I was homeless in DC. And so I wanted to up you guys on that. So I'm going to be doing a continuation of From the Mitten to Maryland, because Street Sense Media won't let me write because I'm not homeless in DC anymore. So I want you guys to check it out. It's on streetsensemedia.com, and it's called From the Mitten to Maryland. So it's my story from Michigan to Maryland and back from Maryland back to Michigan, okay? So it starts out and it says, on the evening of December 2nd, 2021, I received a phone call that would change my life. Children were awarded temporary custody to my mother. I dropped the phone, cried, and took a hot shower and worshiped and praised God. That evening, I asked for a direct arrow to come down from heaven, and it needed to happen then. So the Lord gave me direction to pack my essentials and head for the nation's capital of D.C. I didn't know what I was getting into. I'm not from the city. I was a homebody. I was forced, and now I see, to be in a box in society and not really go out many places. And when I did go, my family was with me on vacations. This is the story of a woman that started life over and realized our nation's capital and the surrounding states make it nearly impossible to get help and get out of low-income government assistance programs. This article is about me and my life in the DMV. The date I started my journey was December 3rd, 2021. It was a very long day. My mother took my children temporarily away from me, supposedly for endangering them. She argued that by housing them with homeless, I was putting them in danger. The homeless couple that stayed with us was young and had no criminal history. They were living out of a Jeep with no heat and had a baby. I helped them obtain a job and housing. They left shortly after. Ironically, little did I know that I too would become homeless shortly thereafter and have my children taken from me for helping the homeless. I had a home, a van, 3 kids, a dog. Life was very content. I worked a full-time job running my own cleaning company and was only going to school events and being very involved in the school board with my children's extra activities. Our family has always given back to the community and the churches that have helped us along the way. The Lord blessed me with a heart of compassion, and this means I care. Every other weekend, my children and I would hand out gift bags, goodies, food, clothing, and more items to the homeless in our community. My children and I also attended church every Sunday and Wednesday. If you've seen my sassy yet cute 5-year-old, she would be sure to sing, "Let Me Tell You About My Jesus." My 6-year-old always turns heads, holds open doors, and says things like, "Have a blessed day." And my 11-year-old, she has a heart like her mom, caring, kind, and always willing to give. It took me 10 hours to drive to D.C. from Michigan. I was blessed from the very beginning of my journey, as I generally had a hard time driving through traffic. I traveled through Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, and D.C. along the way. There were many blessings. I have had a hard time since my car accident a year ago, driving over bridges and mountains. The Lord gave me the strength and courage to get across not 1, not 2, but 7 bridges over bodies of water and overpasses to get to my final destination. The nation's capital has so much beauty, yet hidden in this beauty is a world of hurting. There are many people who are homeless and so many neglected humans searching for their next meal, shower, and their next place to sleep at night. Soon after arriving, I learned just how dark D.C. and Maryland are as places. This is part 1, so I'm going to continue to read. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to pull up part 2. The Lord blessed me with a caring heart, and I put that to use in D.C. The second week of my adventure from the Mitten to Maryland and the state of DMV consisted of many trials, culture shocks, and blessings. I slept in my car at night every night. I traveled to find the resources that I needed to survive and get myself out on the streets. I took my dog Buffy exploring the nation's capital with me, and she turned many heads. The third evening of the second week, it got very cold, and I was out of fuel. Down on my luck, I searched for shelter. I was accepted into the Harriet Tubman Women's Shelter in D.C. It was here the Lord began to show me that even case management sometimes doesn't even know the local resources available to help the general public, as many of them have never stood where we stand. My case manager tried to send me somewhere to get my depression medication filled. However, that was an hour wasted and money spent. If you don't have insurance and you're awaiting Medicaid or Medicare, your only option is to go local. Okay, sorry about that. So my case manager tried to send me somewhere to get my depression medication filled. However, it was an hour wasted, money spent. If you don't have insurance, you're wasting Medicaid and Medicare, you're awaiting them. Your only option is to go to local ER and get a 3-day supply. This was the start of my very long stride for services for the unfortunate. For me to go to the local emergency room, it took 2 buses and a 9-hour wait each time. I lost my spot in the shelter the next morning. I prayed and searched for another place to stay. Every day while I was in the shelter, they refused to let my dog, which is an emotional support animal, stay with me. Then I found a day shelter, the Georgetown Ministry Center. Staff here were friendly, and I put it at the top of my drop-in centers for the DMV area. You do have to be a resident to receive services, and the meals are awesome. I met a man in the shelter named D. He helped me find my way around the city, showed me all the shelters available, and I didn't qualify for overnight shelters because I am not a legal resident. I had to go to the Department of Human Services and apply for residency with the help of Miriam's Kitchen. The third night, it got cold. Buffy was cold too, so D offered us to stay in his tent. Buffy slept in between us. She was my good dog. Love you, Buffy. I miss you. The evenings got cold, but hand warmers and multiple sleeping bags donated from Miriam's Kitchen kept us snug. I stayed the rest of the week in his tent. I worked on getting a job while I stayed here. I went to the GMC every morning. I had my meal, applied for jobs, and got affiliated with Street Sense Media. The man I stayed with referred me to services and got Street Sense Media to do all they could to help me, and I am grateful. I got an approval letter for food and medical insurance the same week and had a blessed service at Sunday church. This is part 2. I'm going to restart a new one for 3 and 4.